If it's a day called today, we're talking guitars and life. Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. What was once a box of parts is now an LP style rock and roll machine. Yeah, we did it, man. Hey, thanks for being on the journey with me, man. In this video, what I want to do is summarize the work that I did on that box of parts to get us to where we are today. Hey, if you want to see step by step everything that I've done to make this guitar from the Leo Jaymz LP style kit guitar package that I've received in the mail, man, yeah, you can check that out in the playlist below. All of the work vids are out there, and I think that there are a total of 10 videos, if that tells you anything about, well, it might say more about me and my abilities or inabilities than it does your time and what you would do or how you would do it. But yeah, man, let's talk about it, man. So in the box of parts were everything that we needed to build the Les Paul style guitar that you see before you today. Just a couple of thoughts about the parts and a couple of thoughts about my process and what I did. All right, let's start with maybe the most atrocious part of all of this, and that is the tuners. The tuners were not fantastic. In fact, I may or may not have called them junk, and that is because one of them broke while I was attempting to put the strings on the guitar. I'm not going to go into all of that, and guys, look, this is not a Slam Leo Jaymz Guitars video. That is never my intent. It is never my heart to say anything derogatory about a company or a brand. But the guitar that I got, the kit that I got, the tuners were just the worst tuners I've ever seen on any budget guitar. If you hang out on the channel, what you know is I've bought a lot of budget guitars and reviewed them. Hey, if it's your first time hanging out with us, welcome. We're glad that you're here with us today. So serendipitously, I did have some tuners laying around the shop that were off of a West Creek Racer. It's kind of their version of a SG style guitar, and those were 3 and 3, and anyway, swapped out the tuners. So these are not the stock tuners, all of that to say. Okay, now look. There's two kinds of people that may buy a kit guitar, and probably others, but the two that I'm kind of most aware of, one is somebody who's been playing guitar a long time, works on guitars, and just wants the adventure of putting a guitar together. So that person is going to have tools, and that person is going to have some knowledge base, a rudimentary understanding of how things work in a guitar. But maybe sometimes a brand new person to all of this will buy a kit and just think that they're going to throw it together and life is going to be good. So as I walk through this, it really depends on your vantage point as to whether or not what I'm saying is helpful or not. So man, let me know in the comments, one, if you've ever had a Leo Jaymz kit guitar, what your experiences were. Again, I can only speak to the product that I've received and the guitar that I have in my hot little hands. Nut is straight plastic. And listen, guys, if a plastic nut works for you, rock and roll that situation all day long, man. I ain't mad at you. Okay, you do you. But for me, the nut needed to be filed, and so I did file it, and I did get the guitar dialed in. I've got a little bit more dialing in to do. In fact, the next video, I'm going to walk through kind of my process for filing a nut and doing some other things on a guitar to get something perfectly tuned in, at least to my player preferences. Guys, look, everything in guitar playing is player preference. So set your gear up the way you want to. Don't let anybody rent any space in your head about what you need to do. You do you, man. All right, so I did file the plastic nut down and got a little bit more to do on that. The frets on the guitar, there were not any like super sharp frets. The tangs were not like sticking out everywhere. However, the frets were not comfortable to play out of the box for me. So I did to these frets what I do with all frets of every guitar that I own these days and work on. And that is, I took a file to the edges of these frets to smooth those down where nothing grabs the skin of my fingers as I go up and down the neck. Okay, I don't like to feel the frets myself. Player preference. So I filed those down to my liking. I did have 4 high frets on this guitar neck, which meant that I was looking at doing a fret leveling. However, I got the rubber mallet out and I was able to hammer 3 of those into shape, and so I really only ended up filing 1 of the frets down. After filing that fret, I went ahead and crowned that fret. I treated that fret as a filed fret, started like 320 grit sandpaper and worked my way up. And once I got in the ballpark of 600, 800, then I began to treat all of the frets, because these frets were really kind of scratchy. They were really just catching and ugly. And so listen, man, it was a $179 kit guitar. Did I expect polished frets? I did not, guys. I'm just walking through the process of what I did. Don't get anxious about it. I'm just saying that I went ahead and I polished the frets, and then I put some polishing solution on it and buffed them out and all of that. I did clean and condition the fingerboard. I also took a razor blade to the fingerboard. I had a lot of scratches and kind of glue on the first fret of the fingerboard. So I took my razor blade to that, and I ended up with a fingerboard and frets that feel good to me. And I did stain the back of the neck clearly, and I did have to paint the entire body of the guitar as well. But let me stick at the neck here for just a minute. So this is a mix of Canadian maple, Saman stain, Minwax Gunstock 231, a little bit of chocolate brown dye. I know I'm crazy, right? And then about 4 or 5 coats of Tru-Oil. And there we go. We've got us a shiny, silky, smooth guitar neck, man. And she is feeling like butter. When I got done with all of that, the other thing that I do to my guitar necks is I put, after treating it with all of the Tru-Oil, and that would be Tru-Oil, some steel wool, 4/0, 3/0, 4/0 steel wool. Did that about 4 times. And then my last step is to put a little feeding wax on there, Howard's feeding wax. And I got this thing just smoking, blazing, man. Now this neck, I'll say this. This neck is thinner than the typical Les Paul neck. I know that the camera's not going to pick it up, but I'll just say, for my purposes, this feels more to me. I don't have a fancy apparatus that's going to give me exact measurements. I've only got my hand and the way the guitar feels in it, Jack. But this feels more like a modern C-shape neck, more of a 60s, 70s LP neck, not chunky like a 50s LP would be. And so if you like a thinner neck, you'll really like the neck. The neck doesn't bother me, although my preference with an LP style guitar to have it a little bit more chunky, kind of that 50s baseball bat kind of feel. Those of you who've played those guitars know exactly what I'm talking about. But the neck is all right, man. It feels and plays more like a telly neck, a Strat, fat Strat kind of a neck. All right, so the body. On the back of the body, this is a combination again of some Canadian maple stain, some Gunstock 231, and some chocolate dye. And then Tru-Oil 4 or 5 times, and in between Tru-Oil coats again, steel wool, and top that off with some Howard feeding wax, man. Sides, same thing. I did not worry too much about the binding, whether or not I got any dye or coloring on the binding. I'm not a fan of blazing white binding on a guitar. That's just me, man. You do you, right? And so, yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Now, this guitar kit from Leo Jaymz, one of the good things about it is that it did come with a strap, and it's a pretty decent strap, and it's got leather ends, and it's even got the little Leo Jaymz logo on it. I thought that was a classy touch by them. It also had strap lock buttons. So instead of just the traditional strap buttons, it actually had a strap lock system, which I obviously did not put on the guitar for my own purposes. The kit also came with a pick guard that would go right in here, but I don't do a pick guard on an LP if I can get away from it, even though it leaves a little bit of a hole right here and on the sides as well. And yeah, I can live with it, man. All day long I can live with it. I'd rather have the freedom and have that look than I would have a pick guard hanging there. That's just me, though. Speed knobs. I had these speed knobs laying around the shop. It's just my study. Everybody knows it's just a study. And the speed knobs just happened serendipitously to be the exact same color as the top hat knobs. So I thought, why not? What do you think, man? Hey, put in the comments, you a speed knob guy or a top hat guy? Let me know. I'd be curious to hear about it. The pickups sound okay to me. What's going to follow this little brief? This is supposed to be this is Ted being as brief as he could be. Can you imagine? Imagine what my wife has to endure, man. But what's going to follow this video are going to be some sound samples. Now, guys, look, nobody comes, and I mean nobody comes, to Ted Talks Guitars and Life to hear me play guitar. We're here to talk about guitars and life. But I am going to put some sound samples at the end of this video. I'd ask you, as you listen to the guitar, to let me know what you think of the pickups on this guitar and how they sound in your ears. Everything worked on the guitar out of the box. I was able to get the guitar mostly intonated. Again, the next thing I'm going to do in the final vid of this will be to train this. So tune, relief, string, action, intonation, and nut. So I've done a little bit of all of that, but I need to go back and do it one more time after the guitar has been assembled, and it's been a few days where everything can kind of set in. The truss rod can do what it does, the wood can do what it does, and so we'll check all that out down the road. The body is my first attempt at what was supposed to be a honey burst looking situation. Now this is, guys, it's a budget channel. I know you can put it in the comments all day long, tell me what products I should have bought and all these things. Guys, I'm not going to spend $40 on a bottle of dye. I ain't going to do it. It's a budget channel. I bought 3 bottles of Rit dye. Yeah, you heard me. I'll put it in the description below. And I created this little burst looking thing. And yeah, man, the veneer on this I think is pretty smoking hot, man. The stripes, it's very dynamic, very cool. The dye took to it, and then I did 4 or 5 coats of Tru-Oil and probably a little Howard feeding wax. If you know me well, you already knew that. Well, guys, this has been the journey, my friends. The Leo Jaymz LP style guitar kit. I need to make a video or 2, and so the videos that are going to follow, the next one will be about dialing everything in, riding that train, if you can feel that. But then the whole purpose of me buying this kit guitar is I wanted to see, could I get a LP style guitar for under $300, under $200? So this guitar, even though it was only $179, I added up the dye and the Tru-Oil and the things that any of you would need to finish a guitar. Depending on how you're going to finish it, it would be even more. I'm $300 in at this point. I spent about $125 on things that I needed to complete the kit. So although the kit was $179, just know that you want to factor in the finishing supplies that you're going to need to purchase. Again, that's about $125 for me. If you don't have the tools and the kind of tools that I use, you're going to need to get some tools. So when you're going to compare this to something else, then you want to make sure that you're counting the true cost of a kit build. So I'm going to do a video on the true cost of a kit build, and I'll throw that up in a few days. And then we're going to shoot this out, because that was my purpose. So I got this for $179, and again, the parts and all that take it up to about $300, but the parts themselves, $179. I've bought another guitar, a built guitar, a prefab guitar, if you will, for $200, and so it's an LP style, and we're going to shoot those out on the channel. It should be a great ride for you. Well, man, hey, thanks for being on this journey with me, man. It was quite the learning experience. Look, building a kit is fun. I had a great time. I learned a whole lot. Thank you so much, those of you hanging out, putting great comments in the comments for me and helping me on my journey, guiding me through things. I tell you what, I learned so many things that some of them I'll never do again, and some of those I need to do more of. And it's always a journey at Ted Talks Guitars in Life. Hey, wherever you are in your guitar journey, man, I pray it's a long, smooth, safe, joy-filled ride for you, Jack. And now, let's check out some tones. Well, as always, wherever you are in your guitar journey, I pray it's a long, smooth, safe, joy-filled ride for you, Jack. Rock on with your bad selves, everybody. We'll catch you down the road.